out. Okay, I think we're live. Maybe, yeah. I think we're live. Hey, everybody! I've got Mr. Dan Seifert here of The Verge. It's going to be a good one. We're going to do a bunch of talking about phones that came out in the last 2 months. Since I haven't done a podcast since February, it's ridiculous. So since before Mobile World Congress.
Plenty of time about that.
Well, I've been on many Twitch shows, so people see me babbling away on all about Android and stuff. But anyway, so what I'll do is at some point I'm going to hit. We're going to hit the record button on our audio recorders, and that's actually when the podcast is going to start. So what I'll do is I'll say the date, I'll introduce you, and then I have to do my sponsor, which is HipChat.
Cool.
And then we'll get started, and we'll just, it's about an hour. I'm going to try to keep it to no more than like 65-70 minutes at most.
Okay.
Because I got stuff to do, you got stuff to do, and
yeah, we all do. Yeah.
It's insane. Okay, cool. So you're ready to go? I'm just checking to see if how many listeners do we have? Viewers. Let's see. Nobody's on. Seriously? What is wrong with these people? I just told them. Actually, let me tell them again that it's with you, because you're like the rock star. So
yes,
I tell them
I'll draw in the crowds.
You'll instantly like the count will go up. Watch, it'll be great. Let's see. We're live. Something like that. We're live with Dan Seifert. Mike's in the way on my keyboard. How's life?
Busy.
I bet.
Never ends.
No, right? It's like you cannot win. Not win this battle.
Yeah.
DC. There you are. Did you change yours to like D little at symbol N?
Yeah, I changed that a week or two ago.
That's awesome. I would have never found you.
I'm really terrible at self-marketing.
No, I think it's pretty good. Let me grab the URL. I have the URL here. And let people know. Okay, here we go. There, you see you vibrated.
I did. So I got to move something off the desk because that's going to be annoying. Okay.
That's no big deal. You're not like a famous tech journalist. Your phone's not going to go off every 5 minutes. What are you talking about? All right. Are you ready? I'm going to count down from 3. So, okay. At 0, the implied 0, you're going to hit record. Okay. 3, 2, 1. Hi, and welcome to the tnkgrl Mobile Podcast. This is Miriam, and as usual, I have an awesome guest for you. And guess who that is this week? Well, this month, really, because I've been slacking. It's Mr. Dan Seifert of The Verge. Hi, Dan. How's it going?
Hey, how are you? Happy to be here.
Great.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So before we get started, I have to thank our sponsor. I also have to lower my levels, which are insanely high for whatever reason. Let me find these levels. There we go. That's a little better. So we're going to talk about a whole bunch of exciting phones that have come across our desks since Mobile World Congress, and maybe we'll just, maybe there'll be some stuff from Mobile World Congress in there too. But the bottom line is, it's an exciting time for phones. And before we get started, the sponsor. So as you probably know, this is my first podcast sponsored by HipChat. The wonderful people at Atlassian have sponsored me now a little while. They actually let me go to South by Southwest, which was wonderful, and have sponsored me to go there. So I want to thank them for being sponsors of the tnkgrl Mobile Podcast. And just so you know, you should visit www.hipchat.com. That's HIPCHAT.com/tnkgrl. tnkgrl without the vowels, tnkgrl. That's www.hipchat.com/tnkgrl to get a special deal to join HipChat. If you're especially a small business and you want to communicate more effectively, this is a great way to do it. You get 2 months free of the Plus service, which is a kind of premium, more awesome than awesome service. And just to know, so you know a little bit about HipChat quickly, it is basically an IM client on steroids. It's persistent, searchable, loaded with goodies. You get video calling, screen sharing, and of course the security that your IT team, if you have an IT team, that they crave. So check it out, hipchat.com/tnkgrl. Anyway, so Dan, which phone should we start with?
I mean, whatever you want.
I think the M9.
Yeah, let's talk with the M9 because the M9.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's your take? You reviewed it for The Verge. I reviewed it for my own blog and for Twit Network. So what do you think?
I think the M9 is a lot like the M8 in that it is a really excellent phone with an excellent design and fast performance and a lot of things to like and a great screen and a really terrible camera. And
yeah,
so,
right.
Like, it's almost the exact same story as it was last year. And I really liked the M8. There was a lot of things I liked about it. The one thing that I think I wanted, and I think a lot of other people were looking for, was a vastly improved camera experience. And unfortunately, I can't say that the M9 offers that. In many ways, it's maybe the same level as the M8. In some ways, it's worse than the M8, which is like kind of insane, but it's definitely not an improvement and definitely not something that you'd expect from a flagship smartphone in 2015.
I agree 100%. It's interesting because it's turning out the camera is actually not that bad. It's a lot of it is software. And to me, a lot of it is the lack of OIS, which I think is completely unacceptable on the flagship today, considering what the competition is doing. And I think there's something we should touch upon at some point once we've gone through all the phones. There's a really interesting, I think when we talk about the G4, there's a really interesting kind of tendency right now for the whole market to really prioritize camera performance. And it's making me as a camera phone buff really happy.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the reason why you see us critics and tech journalists be upset about the M9's camera performance. It's primarily because it just doesn't deliver, right? It's like we were expecting them to move things up a notch, not just one notch, but like at least as good, if not better than the iPhone notch. And that's really hard to do, right?
Yeah, I mean, the iPhone has set that bar since like 2010 now. That is the bar to reach and to hit, and the vast majority of phones don't hit that bar. And you know, the iPhone has done really well as being like a go-to camera on a smartphone. And so that's what, you know, everybody wants the other phones to like get their S together and like.
You can swear on my podcast, by the way. You can. No, this is not
together and like
seriously.
Put all your efforts into your camera and like at least do what the iPhone's doing. And if you can beat it, that's awesome. But at least match it.
Yeah. No.
So that's the biggest disappointment with the M9. And
yes, we've got a Dan rant going. I love it. You know what? It's funny because my podcast is not PG-13. I refuse. I have to be PG-13 on all the podcasts I do at Twit, which is perfectly fine.
Yeah.
So I'm not gonna do it on my own. Like screw that. Fuck everybody. You're getting insanity. Look, I agree with your rant 100%. To me, actually, I'll be frank with you. You know, since I'm a bit of a camera whore, I think the iPhone 6 is the first iPhone that I really feel just blows my mind because it's the consistency and quality. I feel that especially the 6 Plus with OIS, I can often beat the performance of the Lumia 1020 with it, which to me was kind of the reference. You know, in terms of
not only can you beat the image quality performance, but you can also take your picture, go back home, eat your lunch, take care of your laundry, and then come back, and then the 1020 will have a photo for you.
Exactly. Right? No, I agree 100%. And that's the thing I'm trying to get to is that it's like, for me, like there's no doubt that the iPhone since 2010 has always been great at consistency, but you could always beat it in low light with other phones if you knew what you were doing, if you tweaked the manual settings, blah, blah, blah. What blows my mind this year with the 6 and the 6 Plus, even though the 6 doesn't have OIS, is that I can take good pictures in low light even without OIS. Right. And it's even better with the 6 Plus, and it in many cases beats what we considered being the best of the breed, right?
Right.
And now we have HTC coming along which has traditionally actually done pretty awesome in imaging in terms of trying to push the envelope. I really think the M7, even though it was limited in its ability to zoom and crop because it has low resolution to start with, I actually thought they had the right recipe. Large pixels, OIS, right? And then what really vexed me was that we told them, this is great, keep at it, give us 8 megapixels instead of 4. Look, Apple's doing 8. 8 is enough. Give us 8. And what do they do the next year? They don't do anything about the resolution, and they remove the freaking OIS.
Yeah. but you got a second lens, to do like crappy depth of field gimmicks.
Right. And who cares about that, right? So that's exactly what I'm saying. So it's kind of broken. And then this year we're like, okay, guys, you really messed up. You removed the one thing, OIS, that we thought was great, and you didn't increase the pixels, the pixel count. We want to keep the pixel size. It's fine. Try to find a way to make an 8 megapixel sensor with that pixel size and OIS, and then talk to us. And what do they come back with? 20 megapixels, total overkill, right?
Right.
Because the other thing you have to realize, everyone here, you probably don't know this, but even Lumia, like the Lumia 930, and the 1520 that are 20 megapixel, they do the pure view stuff. So they downsample the pictures down to 5 megapixels, taking advantage of these multiple pixels, combining them into a software implementation to improve the quality of the image. The HTC M9 does none of that. So right. It's kind of like the Z1, Z2, Z3 from Sony. It's like just raw megapixel, although arguably there's a mode on the Z3 that's like, what are the auto awesome, not auto awesome. Yeah. You know the one I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's got a downsampling mode. I think it makes 8
megapixel shots, and it's auto. Right. It's got auto HDR. So even Sony's doing it. And the M9, nothing. It doesn't do anything with those 20. And they didn't put OIS in. Which is like the sin of all sins, in my opinion. When your pixels are that small, you're going to get a ton of noise.
Ton of noise. I mean, in my experience with it was a ton of noise. It was inconsistent focus. It was, a lot of noise reduction happening in.
Oh my God,
not even low light, but like just moderate light, like terrible noise reduction and stuff. And so like I did a lot of side-by-side comparisons when I was using the phone and reviewing it of, an iPhone 6, and like the iPhone 6 doesn't have OIS, so like you're on a pretty even plane there as far as like lenses go and stuff. And the iPhone just like destroyed it every single time. And like the iPhone was brighter, it was sharper, it had less noise, it had more detail, and it like wasn't even a contest. And it's just like such a letdown. So.
I know, it's like insane. The first night I had it, I just shot some pictures in my room with 2 incandescent lights on, right? Not just one, 2 incandescent lights. And I did side by side with the iPhone 6, and I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? It's like an oil painting back there. Yeah. I was like, what is this? And so I have to give though, I did hint at this earlier. I have to say that if with the right settings, you can get very great low light pictures with an M9. I found a way, but I think they should have done it for you so that when you just mash that button, it works. So here's the key. If you spend money on an M9 right now and you're mad at us ranting about how bad the camera is, it's actually not terrible. It's just not good enough. And here's what you can do to improve it.
It's not terrible for a 2011 smartphone.
Oh, for sure. But here's what you can actually do to make it like iPhone 6 levels of performance. Cap the ISO. So you can set these you can set these settings and create your own camera and label it. I call mine optimized. And here's what you do. ISO 200. Do not let it go higher in number than ISO 200. Okay? Because beyond that, it's dead. ISO 200, and then you need to set here's very important, the sharpness to between -1 and -2. Ideally, -1.5 is kind of sweet spot perfect, because that actually removes the noise reduction. That turns into an oil painting. And then it's not really downsampling per se, because it's actually not smart downsampling like Sony or Lumia do, but set the resolution to the 10 megapixel, 10:7 format. Like
it's really weird. Yeah, it's like in between 4:3. Yeah,
so the native. So set it to 10. So here's what happens with that setting. ISO 200, minimizes the noise. The sharpness setting removes the oil painting effect from the noise reduction, and then the 10 megapixel. Even though there's no actual smart downsampling, it still is some downsampling going on, and that downsample helps the noise further. And so here's a key trick about this setting. you now need to hold your camera so super still that this is where you're going to bitch about the lack of OIS. But with that setting, holy crap, that sensor shines.
As long as your subject isn't moving. And
yeah, no, actually, if your subject is moving, it's kind of cool. But you get really nice effects. But here's the thing is that you unfortunately are capped as to how dark you can take a photo. Because, you know, with the other phones, at those settings, you can actually still see a lot of light. But with that one, because at this is not a manual setting I'm proposing, by the way. It's not manual mode. This is actual auto mode with some tweaks. And at that point, it still selects a shutter speed that's really fast. And so you can only shoot so dark with that setting. But trust me, try that setting and you will actually feel like you're, oh my God, I got actually something out of this insanely crappy camera. So that's my take on it.
And you know, I give credit where it's due is that HTC built a good enough camera app to allow you to do these settings and make these adjustments. And if you do want to go into the manual things, you can have that. There's manual focus control and all this other fun stuff. And it's really fast and simple to use. I really like HTC's camera app.
I love the camera app. And, you know, honestly, like we've only talked about the camera, but let's talk about the phone itself. I actually, other than the display, I find a little disappointing.
Oh, really?
The rest of the phone, yeah, you know, the viewing angles are just, if you find one in the office, find a 1X. And
oh, man. Yeah.
The viewing angles, like it really feels on the 1X, like, and this is like what, 3 generations back, that the icons are literally floating on top of the glass.
Yeah,
like
I remember that. Yep.
At any angle. And this one, you know, it's worse in my opinion than the M8 actually. If you start, and I think they did it so they have better brightness in daylight and better daylight readability, but at the expense of viewing angles, in my opinion, a little bit. Mm-hmm. So it's you know, it's a minor thing. The display is gorgeous still, but I think other than that, I love the silver and gold. Oh my God, the silver and gold.
I like the black better. The whatever HTC is calling it, the gray. It's black to me, whatever. It's their black version. I kind of like that better. I wasn't really feeling the silver and gold two-tone. I felt like the hardware itself obviously was like exquisitely machined and like very well built, very well put together. The sharp it has like sharper edges than the M8. They really didn't bother me. It made it easier to hold the phone without slipping out of my hand, whereas the M8 just always felt like it was ready to dive out of my hand. But you know, I mean, like the two-tone gold, that's entirely a personal preference thing, and it's just like,
yeah, for sure. I actually love it, and I actually have to tell you, ergonomically, I love that this is a hybrid between the M8 and the M7 in terms of industrial design. I think, you know, they nailed it in terms of design, in terms of the evolution of the design. It's not very daring, you know, like it feels familiar. So for some people, that's great. For me, it's I wanted something a little more daring, frankly, but at the same time, I love everything else about the phone. It's snappy enough. Really
fast, yeah. That was one thing that was quite remarkable when I was using it, was just how fast it was. Was like, because I never thought of the M8 as slow, and I actually bought an M8 last year, so I spent a long time using it, a lot of time using it, and it's always been fast and like responsive phone. And then like the M9 was just like, whoa. It's like it was like you hit a turbocharger or something, and it was smoking. And I know other reviewers had mentioned there were some battery issues. I didn't really see any battery problems when I was using it. I was able to get a full day. I'm not getting 2 days out of it, but I don't really expect that out of a device that's not a phablet at this point. But I was able to get it to last all day without issue, and I didn't have any heat issues either. So.
Yeah, same with me. I feel my battery life is fantastic. I use the phone every day. The no heat problems. It gets warm, but not like crazy warm. Right. The thing I think a lot of people are thrown off by is that it's because it's unibody metal, the heat actually dissipates really nicely through it. So it actually keeps the processor cool when you feel that heat in your hand. Right. And it's a little off-putting at first. You're like, well, the iPhone doesn't get this hot and it's metal. Well, you know, the iPhone is a whole different ballpark, right?
And if you play some Infinity Blade on your iPhone, it's going to get pretty warm.
Yes, you'll notice.
You play that on an iPad, and iPad gets pretty toasty.
Yeah, so there you go. So the point is, to me, is there's really nothing to worry about. I think if the N9 had OIS to me right now, even with the issues it has in its camera software, the processing, not the actual UI, I would be willing to wait for some iterative improvements on the software settings. But what kills me right now is that I found a setting like this optimized setting I described that actually produces iPhone 6 levels of quality. But the problem is that you have to be so still to get there that, OIS would really help, and they don't have OIS. And even then, OIS only solves the problem that it keeps you still. If your subject is moving, you're SOL, right?
My rule of thumb with like virtually every smartphone camera, my basic test is I have a 3-year-old who's obviously very fast and doesn't like to stay still. And if she does pose for a camera, for a picture, it's not very long. And if the camera on the phone can't get a sharp picture of her inside my house, then it's kind of failed. Like the iPhone can do it, so the other one should be able to. Is my
What other phones can do it?
So most phones can't. Turns out. So why don't we use that as a segue? Because one phone that actually did a really good job with it is the Galaxy S6 from Samsung. Obviously, it's their competitor or their flagship phone for this year. It is obviously going head to head against the iPhone. Also goes against the M9 and all the other Android phones, but the ones that matter is it going against the iPhone. And I think they did a tremendous job with the camera. It's really, really good. And it's really fast, and it focuses quickly. It takes great photos. It takes bright photos in low light without being overly noisy or noise reduction. It's not overly sharpened. It's smart enough to use faster shutter speeds when it needs to, when the subject is moving around. It's just a great camera to use. I have 2 very minor gripes with it. One of them is that it's a 16:9 sensor, which is, I think, really annoying for still photos. And 2 is that the white balance is slightly warm. Other than that, I really like the camera. Like most of the time, I couldn't tell the difference between my iPhone and the Galaxy S6 in just casual shooting.
So just to the listeners, the readers know, I don't have a review unit yet. I know, us plebes have to wait a little longer. And of course, it's first in line. They're getting me one. I'm hopefully getting an Edge in white, which is really what I want.
Oh, you like the white? I like the black better. It's more like a dark blue.
It's the fingerprints that are putting me off on the black one. Fair. But look, I played with it extensively. Friends have it. I played with it at Mobile Congress quite a bit. I actually did for Mobile Geeks. I did a little specific thing on the video on the camera. Like I went to the press area and played with it for an extensive period of time on video. Check it out if you do a Mobile Geeks YouTube channel and you go look for Galaxy S6 camera, UI walkthrough or something like that. I love this. Oh my God, I love this camera. The thing that blows my mind is the f over 1.9. There's the only other phone that has f over 1.9 is the Lumia 735 and the Lumia 720. And actually the tablet, the 2520, they have that 6.7 megapixel sensor. That's weird resolution that has a very fast lens. And I tell you, it buys, even without OIS on those, because they're low-end devices or mid-range devices, it buys you so much more light to have that aperture. Now imagine that combined with Samsung's expertise in software and OIS, and you have a killer. Like, even to me, it's like, I thought to myself, the specs are great. And if it was anyone but Samsung, I would actually be worried because they would somehow mess up the software. But because it's Samsung, I knew they would nail it. And, the results speak for themselves. That camera
I think
my mind.
In my past experience with older Samsung cameras, is my general complaint with most of them was that they were too oversaturated. The colors were too loud. It was too unnatural looking. And they, during their marketing tour for the S6, they said that they scaled a lot of it back. And I really think that it shows in the end result. The colors are much more natural. It's much more like what you get out of an iPhone, which lends itself to editing and making filters and adjusting and just looking great on its own. Much better than, say, an S5 or even the Note 4 and the Note 3 offered a year ago. So I'm really happy with what they did with the camera. It's finally, someone I can say to someone, you can go buy an Android phone, have as good a camera experience as the iPhone without putting any.
I know, hooray, right? Hallelujah, right? I am excited about that too, and I feel the same way. So I mean, obviously, I'll play with it some more and let you know how I really feel ultimately. But I don't think it's going to change. And my little bit of time with the GS6 overall and the Edge is that I really, software could be lighter weight still. Like, it's still very TouchWiz-y, and I wish it was more plain Android. Oh man, a Google Play edition of that phone. I would die for a Google Play edition of that phone with Samsung camera app downloadable from the apps from the Play Store, right? Obviously.
So I mean, I think that it's a great phone. It's a great design. It's obviously the best design that Samsung's ever made. Either one, whatever you're talking about, the S6 or the Edge, they're the best designed phones and manufactured phones that Samsung has ever made. They feel great in the hand. They are, you know, comfortable and ergonomic and easy to use, and they're beautiful to look at. The screen is tremendous. It is like a phenomenal. Like we were talking about the display earlier on the M9, how it kind of is a little bit of a letdown. I don't think you could say the same thing about the S6. It's like
there's no way
the best screen I've ever seen.
This is like it's for to die for. Like you're like. I can now look at the screen and go die. It's fine. I'm done. I've seen the best screen in the world. Like it's that good.
But you know, and it's fast, and like you said, the software is better than Samsung's done in the past. It's a little bit better with the new era of material design in Google. But I found that it does definitely get warm in your hand, which is kind of really fun. Like we were just saying how the M9 kind of get warm, but the S6 like can get hot.
Warmer than the M9.
Yeah, warmer than the M9 in my experience. And then the battery life is just not great.
Good
like we had T-Mobile review units, and I don't know if it's partial to the T-Mobile version, but I know some of my colleagues have bought other carriers. I know one of my colleagues is a Verizon one, and he's seen the same thing where the standby time is just really bad on the battery life. Like it'll just sit on my desk and drain, which is like really frustrating, obviously. So getting a full day out of it was not an easy thing for me while I was using it. So I mean, that's a software thing that they could update and fix. It's just a matter of when.
Yeah, I have a feeling that A, they can tweak it, B, that it does have a smaller battery. I personally don't mind too much. I think I have enough Qi chargers, and that's the other thing. Oh my God, somebody made a phone with both Qi and PMA on it. Like, why doesn't that become default standard for everyone? Why doesn't the M9 have wireless charging?
I don't know. You tell me. Is it because of the metal? I mean, that's my
well, I guess. Yeah, but like it's insane to me. Like that's such good news. So for me,
and then you can charge it really quickly if you plug it in. So
right on top of that, you get the quick charge. But the M9 has a quick charge too. So, but I think look overall, we've been like here a lot of people. I want to talk about this because this is really really important. I think I don't consider that there's been. I'm not talking about the notes because there's